The energy of the Alchemist brand. The power of the Alchemist brand. My name is Eileen Burns. I'm owner of the Spiritual Marketing Club. I'm a spiritual business coach, spiritual marketing strategy, and a soul empowerment coach and healer. I've been studying in the healing and spiritual sector for over 30 years. I have different facets to my business. And one of the things that I was always asked to help my clients with and friends in the industry was their business and their marketing. And that's how I ended up helping people as part of my business, helping other people, create a more soul-aligned business by, through more authentic marketing and marketing that actually could express the energy behind the business and the energy behind the solutions. Because one of the things that I noticed in the industry was this huge shift and change where 30 years ago, there wasn't many healers, there were many coaches or therapists, and now, it almost feels like sometimes like everyone wants to be a coach, a healer, and a therapist. So how do people stand out, particularly people who genuinely are here for service to others? And that's that's the clients I want to work with, people who genuinely want to do the work and they know that their calling is at a deep level, and it's more than it's a calling more than even running a business or doing a job. And when you understand the energy of your strongest archetypes, but also the energy of your business and your brand, it's so much easier to stand out online and make an impact and help your audience feel you, because the online world is really, really busy. The online world is sometimes, you're trying to stand out, you're trying to be visible. And when you do stand out, or when someone does come across you, you want to try and make an impact quite quickly. And this is why I am, sharing a little bit about the energy and understanding the energy of the Alchemist brand. Now, every brand has its light traits and its shadow traits, just like we have as an individual. We have our light traits and we have our shadow traits. We have things that we've healed or we're empowered about and we're really shining and we're owning it. And there's things that are in our shadow that are wounding, right? And like everything, things can be used for good, or there can be things not used for such good, or sometimes it's lack of awareness or insight or wisdom or lack of experience where the shadow comes in. But in its light trait, and that is where, as a brand, you want to be in obviously your positive light, and you want to be showing in your biggest strengths. You want to be honest, but you want in your business be showing up and doing the work and offering products or services that are in the light aspect. And the alchemist is doing alchemy for good. So it's being the alchemist, changing something from one thing to another. So it's all about maybe changing the shadow, changing something that could be more positive into better. So that's the alchemy. You act as the alchemist and the magician in its light form, in its positive form in relation to a business, a brand, is acting as a catalyst for positive change, right? It's helping transform something, but you're acting as the catalyst. You're not doing everything. It's never about you. It's about the client. So it's about always remembering marketing and branding. It's building something for your client. Of course, you have to build it around your zone of genius, your skills and traits. And don't get caught up too much in that you're completely building your business around your tools. This is where people make a big mistake. No matter how powerful your tools are, you have to understand where your uniqueness is, or you'll lose yourself in your business. And then when some even more powerful tool or technique comes along 10, 20, 30 years ago, or the way that we're going now, things are coming out all the time that are shifting and changing. You get lost. You've lost yourself in your tool and your technique instead of your zone of genius, your soul essence. So you have something within you that is part of your soul essence, and that can be a mixture of your alchemist traits, it can be a mixture of other archetypes, but it can also be a mixture of lots of other things like life experience, what your soul is here to do. But the alchemist at its core helps, it helps clients and students and the people that it buys for their dreams to come true, their wishes, what they want. So it's almost like in its light form, you have to be able to make those dreams come true, the ones that you're actually trying to sell. You can't sell something and imply that it's going to do something if it's not. So even though it's powerful, it's such a powerful, magical brand that can help people make dreams come true, you have to be very, very specific and very clear whose dreams that you can help come true, where they're at, what the challenge is, and what you can and can't do. Because if you don't and you're not clear about that, we'll talk about that, but you fall into your shadow. So it's about you knowing exactly who you can help. And it's also sometimes knowing who you maybe can't help, or you can't help in a particular product. So for example, if you're running a program, you might know that you can help certain clients, but there might be say clients around those outskirts that have complex issues or other challenges, and you know that they would need to get one-to-one, or they might need other help. And this is where the light traits, the alchemist has wisdom to know what it can do and what it can't do. That's its mature, it's the wise wizard, isn't it? Right? The wise magician, the wise crone, where they understand and they see things from a higher perspective. One of the biggest problems that the shadow element, and we will go into this more, is sometimes the alchemist and the magician can fall into illusion or delusion, and this can cause problems for the client and cause problems in their business. So even though that you have this wonderful aspect of dreams and magic, and that's one of the most beautiful and fun things about this brand. I love when I'm helping clients who have that alchemy in them, because they can create a lot more magic and dreamlike branding and marketing that other brands wouldn't give the same impact, because that's what you are. You are about the dreams, the magic. And you're the marriage also of the yin and the yang in some aspect, from that magical or transformation, using the marriage of balance and the marriage of the yin yang, marriage of light and dark, to create those dreams, this magic, and those miracles. At its heart, it's transformational. It also has certain visionary aspects, particularly if within the alchemist. So if we think about the alchemist has subcategories, and the alchemist brand and the magician brand from a business perspective, there can be subsets. So one of the things is, for example, one of my subsets, I have aspects of the alchemist in me, but one of the strong ones is the visionary. And for example, when I started doing more spiritual marketing, it would be at least 10, 12 years ago, I always felt that I just did not align with, even when I started my business, I never aligned with a lot of marketing strategies. It didn't feel right. And I was always trying to find other ways to do things. And then I realized it was more spiritual. It was a deeper, that's what it was. It was like some clicked. And I could see, and one of the things, even though I started down in the coaching, I'd done a lot of stuff coaching from 20 years ago, and I was very into personal development, very young. I noticed the personal development, the coaching industry were very ego-driven. And even though they were very much in their alchemist and magician, like the dreams can come true, your miracles, the miracles can happen, of course. Sometimes and I'm not saying sometimes, it was more than not that people were selling, making promises to their audience, their clients, that they actually couldn't back up or couldn't really guarantee. And that's where, and we're hitting a really powerful aspect in society at the moment, where people are waking up to illusion, deceit, dishonesty, and people just implying and projecting rather than having, evidence based to say that their clients can definitely achieve this. Now, also there's a fine line, because you're trying to show people that there is possibilities, there's dreams, there's magic, and it's getting that combination right. So that's where it's the balance. So it's really important that the alchemist has balance in his objectivity, because many alchemists and magician archetypes are so in their head, in the mad. And what I mean is, they're very in their head, or they're in the spiritual aspects. So sometimes it can be very up in the heavens and up. And if you think about this, people who are very much like starseed energy and intergalactic, or really so on the crown and up there, they're not grounded. They're not in reality. And there's some aspects of the innocent archetype can be in the alchemist. And the innocent archetype tends to have that dreamy optimism, but they come from that naive purity, and they're very idealistic. So they have ideals how they think life should be and what it is, but it's not, it doesn't match reality. And the alchemist can have a bit of that going on as well. So it's really important. And also sometimes, or you have the opposite, people have an interest in the occult, the darkest elements of the occult, and the dark elements of society. And the alchemist has to be able to look and see both and understand both to work, because it is that marriage and that balance. But if they go down one way or the other, if they go two extremes, that causes problems, right? There's no balance, there's no grounding, and they're not really creating change, they're creating problems. So that's really, really important. So miracles is an aspect of the great, powerful, and beautiful thing about anyone that's really strong in their alchemist, is they can see potential for miracles and magic and dreams where maybe people have lost their hope and or lost insight, or even they can't see. They tend to be able to see possibilities for miracles and things, or they can look at things from a different perspective, which can really be helpful. At the core of the alchemist and the magician is actual transformation, right? When it's in the business and branding perspective. So whatever it is, your products are about transforming things, right? And it's been very clear about exactly what it does and what maybe it doesn't do, because that's really important, or it falls again in the shadow in a business. And as I said, I mentioned the visionary. So as I said, I have strong, as an alchemist, I'm very strong in my visionary aspect. I'm very intuitive, I'm clairvoyant. So one of the things that how the visionary archetype shows up in me, I can tend to be ahead of the curve or see what's coming. And I see that in different ways of society. We even look at the last 5-6 years really to do with a certain thing that happened. And there were certain aspects of things I could see coming, and even within that situation. But I can see that also with clients, or see trends and things that's going to, it's like you sense, you've been tuned, and you can see beyond what is in the present time. And that is using your intuitive and spiritual gifts. And the visionary helps in vision also, not just seeing sparks of things, but they're a channel for positive change for the future, but they can help other people be that vision and help other people. So it's almost in a quantum, if you think about on a quantum level, and if you think about changing something, the quantum blueprint of something, the alchemist in its visionary state, when it's more of that, can help other people basically put things into the collective, into the blueprint, and help create more and more power behind a vision. So that is one of the aspects as well. Now, the shadow traits of the alchemist archetype, there's lots of shadows, but these are some of the most common. And it can be deceit and dishonesty. Now, that deceit and dishonesty doesn't always mean that it's straight up deceit and dishonesty. It can be that the person's been dishonest at some level and unconscious with themselves, right? Or their wounding, their inner child wounding is deceived themselves for so long, and that they cannot see that. But there's also aspects as well where I see this, where sometimes students come to me with things, and I've seen so many stories, and they're told things by other training schools that are actually quite deceptive or dishonest. And sometimes they're told things just to be sold so that they'll join a training school. So they come out with things that, can cause problems in the business and can cause problems with clients because it's based on deceit or dishonesty, right? So that can show up in different ways in your business. And it's a bit, sometimes they're just trying to hide the absolute truth. Maybe you're not quite honest about your qualifications and your experience, maybe kind of a wee bit. So again, that's a shadow element. Also, I seem to have, sorry, spelt that wrong, but destruction. We see where destruction starts impacting people's, it can be, they destroy people's ideology that may be actually truth. So they may try and destroy truth. They may be try to destroy people, put them down, or destroy someone that they think is more gifted than them. That kind of thing that can happen, right? One of the biggest things is that the magician and alchemist is unfortunately took over a lot of different types of marketing and being used to imply things that are not true. And we see this in media, and we've seen it for decades, where we see these adverts that imply something is so ridiculous, right? And imply that this product is going to do something if you buy it, and you buy this latest car, you're suddenly going to be the most popular man in the world, or you're going to be like a god, or if you wear, if you think about the Lynx advert for those in the UK, if you use this certain deodorant, how women are going to start running after you. This is the implication. Now, we might think that's kind of funny and we can see it on one level, but there's different layers to this. And we're in a key aspect of the awakening of society, where now more than ever, the man in the street is seeing through the illusion and delusion and is sick and tired of that deceit, dishonesty, and the attempt to destroy other people through manipulation. It's particularly psychological manipulation and illusion and delusion. So people are starting to understand they have to use their intuition and their gut. They can't go by what they see or what they've been presented with, particularly in media, on social media and TV, what they're reading in newspapers. They're starting to see through that a lot of things are just a lie, and it's a manipulation of the truth. So unfortunately, the problem with it is, if you are a brand that is the Alchemist, or is some of these traits in it, you need to find ways that you're not seen as just being that magician who's trying to trick people. And if you think about a good example is, when they used to use the word quack to represent someone that was selling maybe natural remedies, or someone that was just a bit of a quack and was just you selling anything to make money, right? Unfortunately, there is aspects of that in the holistic healing and spiritual world, and it's more there than not there, and that's reality. And there is a lot of illusion and delusion, and that's one of the realities that we have to have. And there's a lot of, healers, there can be really powerful things and things will end, but there's also teachers that are very delusional and are so in their ego that they tell everybody that this one thing is going to do everything for everyone. And we see this a lot. And then it's not till maybe, I see this a lot of healers, really advanced healers that have been going 10, 20 years, and then you have conversations with them, they'll say, like, I thought this was the best thing since sliced bread. And yeah, it helped this, but guess what? There were lots of things and there was lots of reasons why it didn't. And it turned out that that person wasn't always being truthful. I could tell you some really shocking stories. Some people are really high up, just because of some of the people I know. And, I've got a friend of mine who personally, something that happened, it was really, really bad. And what they'd done to create an illusion in a situation. And this is examples. But this is misuse of knowledge of power in one form, but misuse of knowledge and power can come in different forms. So misuse of knowledge and power can be when a healer or therapist misuses their knowing how to manipulate somebody or something that they know to their gain, but not to, in some way, it's not to the gain of the client or student. Or they misuse their power, their role, their identity, or their title, or give themselves a title just to feel more powerful, more important, but it's not based on truth or transparency, right? We see a lot of this as well as people giving themselves titles. See this even with coaching. Now, I'm not saying every coach needs to be trained, and do a formal, because there is some people that I know that are natural coaches, but I see I can also say I believe that about 78% of coaches out there don't even understand what coaching really means and have no really any type of skill or training in this area, and only add coach just so that they can put the prices to justify price point in their programs. I've had so many, again, students and clients come to me and they've done a course and they say this is what it was, and then they've been sold as if it was a coaching program, but it wasn't coaching. Or they're trained to be coaches and they've not learned any coaching skills, and this is an example. So another shadow is when we get into polarization, we go really extreme. Now, how polarization can show up in even a healing industry, and this is a good example. Healers that only look at the light and the positivity, but do not face the shadow. So they don't do shadow work, they don't do inner work, or they don't want to see the darker elements of society, and they only focus on the positive in their business. And you can see this particularly in a lot in innocent type archetypes. And if you have quite strong innocent archetype and alchemist, you can be very tempted to hide your head in the sand, to deny certain things, or not go into your shadow or face aspects, not take self-responsibility, and be in that idealistic or childlike paradigm, which creates lots of problems. So that's an example where that's one. And then the other polar opposite is when people dabble, and they maybe go into dabbling in the dark arts, dabbling in the dark aspects of the occult or in healing, and don't understand or just do the basics, put themselves out as an expert and imply they know more than what they actually do. So what are they doing? They go into polarize. So I'll give you an example. When people go into dabbling in the dark, they can go down a rabbit hole and go down into something so dark and being so involved in that they are carrying all sorts of darker elements and energy into their field and into their clients, and they don't see it. So there's no balance, there's no yin and yang, there's no meeting of the light and the shadow. And again, in business, this was when you do not face and do not look at the weaknesses or vulnerabilities in your business where you're not really good at, or things you need help with. That's how that can show up. So if you're polarized or very so opinionated in one way, you see this in healing work, and particularly people that often stay on the ground and they don't move past certain things, is that they're very polarized in their thinking and can't see things from a higher perspective, that they either look at things really light or really dark, right? Or their business really light or really dark, and either become very childlike and very everything's positive and don't want to look at anything. We're not going to look at that. Nothing's going to happen. And that creates, because there's no foundation, there's no strength, there's no grounding, there's no maturity. Or as I said, the opposite. They're so in their dark, they're so in that extreme, they're so in the negative that they cannot get out of a situation or can't move forward, right? Another one is secrecy, where you have a lot of secrecy about things. You're not, if you're supposed to be a teacher, but you're not actually really teaching teachers lots of things. Now, that can come at different levels. I mean, I've worked with some teachers who are, many people would class really top healers around the world, who a lot of master healers go to them. And one of the things is they do have their own, sometimes, their own system and their signature, and really, how could you sacrifice so much in their life to learn these things? And one teacher that I did, like he would spend a year working with, say, a top teacher in Thailand, a top teacher in Canada, top teacher would go around all the world and find out who was the top psychic, top spiritual teacher, top healer, top mind. And that's how he works. So he invests in the people and he throws himself totally in because it's a vacation, right? And he has created his own program, and there's different levels. Now, obviously, some people might say there's a certain level of secrecy to different levels, and he's not given over. But there has to be a value, and there's a difference between someone choosing wisely who they pass that knowledge on to and when. One of the things that I learned, I do give a lot, and compared to most people, I know sometimes when people comment, you give too much. But one of the things I also learned was that sometimes there's certain things that is appropriate when to share because people are not always ready. Or will I gave things that cost me thousands of pounds to learn in many years and maybe found a faster way to do something, a better way to do it. Gave it to my clients and they didn't fully appreciate and value and understand it. And I'm not saying that's always the case because just because something's a price point does not tell you its true value. I've bought things that were a lot of money that weren't worth pennies, and I've gave things that are free or had things that were free but really powerful. It's not always about that. But what I mean is secrecy when it is there is just deep secrets and it's you're not completely telling the truth. And there's a lot of things like, for example, there's many people, and that has come out, who were high up in the spiritual industry and were brand names who actually were very dishonest about what they learned, and they sometimes stole things from secret, maybe sort of kind of, I was going to say secret texts or certain things, or manipulated certain teachings just to make it marketable, to make money, were being dishonest. So there's that kind of thing, right? Seduction. Seduction, sadly, is a big, big thing of the alchemist and the magician. And it's really prominent in a lot of industries, and that's what I'm saying, that are just about the money. And you see this in a lot of technology companies, corporate companies who use seduction. You also see, obviously, seduction is very, very high in like the fashion, the celebrity industry where they use the shadow elements to seduce you to believe certain things and imply certain things about people, celebrities, people in power. They seduce people into believing that if you have this car, if you have this jewelry, if you this, you'll be like them. When the reality is you don't really know who they are anyway. You're just saying they're playing a part because they're a brand. And the reality is there's the darker element about even branding, the shadow element of dishonest branding is when a business implies they are something they're not. And I'll give you a good example is we just need to look at Johnson's and Johnson's baby products. And Johnson's for years have portrayed themselves as this caring nurturer, that they care for the babies and your family, and everything's wholesome and pure, when they have known for decades how poisonous the products were. I remember speaking to someone who actually was involved in trying to challenge them. And that was someone I've personally done a course with. And that would be about, I think about 12 years ago now. Or maybe, yeah, about 12 years ago. And when she told me what they said, it was quite shocking. And this is another aspect of seduction. So, and that gets into trickery as well, where people trick people to believe things or use trickery to get someone to buy or do things. So these are really, really important things that show up in society. And that as a brand, Alchemist brand, you have to be cautious about. And that's why it's important to try and, as much as possible, ensure that you're getting into your light traits and you're aware of the shadow traits. Because if you're not aware of the shadow traits, you might not realize that you're actually doing things that could be shadow, because we're all conditioned and programmed to be very much in this archetype. So when you're looking at creating an alchemist brand and you're looking at starting to create a marketing strategy as an alchemist, there's a few things that I would say are really, really important, right? I have a masterclass that can really help you look at different things, that can help you with your font, your colours, help you look at and see things from a different perspective, because sometimes people are so stuck in one ideology. And one of the things, that's one of the reasons why I created my own quiz. A lot of people were doing these branding quizzes and even archetypal quizzes, but some of it was not refined enough for the spiritual industry, and was not, a lot of people just felt it didn't resonate with them. So one of the biggest things with an alchemist brand in the spiritual industry, which is so important, that it's soul aligned and it's honest, so authenticity and honesty is so important. And many healers and therapists and spirituals and, light workers, light people are light workers at the moment. A lot of people are moving to the light workers because they are so in that state of they feel as if they've been conned, and they feel that they can recognize the illusion and delusion that's in the world at the moment. So they're seeking that honesty, that authenticity. They want transparency. So they need to see more evidence and testimonials from an alchemist brand, because you're going to exude that a magical element anyway. But it's really important to demonstrate, and this is where some people will really miss that, really clear evidence, evidence that can back up not just one or two clients, but good, strong evidence for your type of brands is really, really going to be important. And good testimonials that are clear about where the client was and where they are. Bringing a magical element to your marketing, your media, and a transformational element, helping people see the transformation that your products is actually doing in reality, what it's doing, right? And if you are a visionary, if you have got the visionary aspect as an alchemist, you want to show that visionary aspect and that vision of what your clients can achieve. Show them in the marketing what the potential is for them when they've completed your product, or they've got your product and service. So it's important that you get this. And if you want, you would love to take your brand and make it your marketing more impactful, your brand more impactful, I have an Alchemist and Magician Brand Masterclass that is designed specifically for more of the holistic and spiritual owner. And it helps you look and explore things like fonts and thinking about logos and colours, but not just that, about thinking about the textures, the images, and how to evoke that alchemist, that magic into your brand, into your business, so that people can feel it, sense it, hear it, because that is really, really important. So make sure you check out the course under. I'll put the in the description in this video, but I'll also include some other resources. And if you're also interested in archetypes and learning more about the shadow and the light aspect of the alchemist, also pop over to my other YouTube channel, which is Eileen Burns Coach, but it also has a section which is the Wounded Healer podcast, and I have a variety of videos. And one of the videos that might interest you is, I think we're talking about, it was myself and Caroline Tobin, and we're talking about the alchemist and aspects of that, and we will be getting into some of these things later on in a bit more depth. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you are an alchemist in your own archetype in your business, I would love if you would share any aspects about you, anything that this has resonated with. I'd love to hear what you do and what your unique alchemic gifts are. And if you need any one-to-one support or help, get in touch. Bye-bye for now.